Hello, this is how to install ReactOS operating system, the nightly version. This is the wiki page. The home page is reactos.org. The download element in the main menu. Nightly builds, get nightly builds. And we're going to select the boot CD, which allows you to install ReactOS in a virtual machine. We're going to use QEMU. So this is what we want. I have downloaded this file, the boot CD one. It's a 7-zip archive. Let's extract it. So ReactOS boot CD 0416, nightly build, the ISO file. Let's now create a QEMU Virt Manager virtual machine. This is Virt Manager, Virtual Machine Manager. File, new virtual machine, ISO, browse, ReactOS boot CD ISO file. What should we write in here? The oldest version possible of Windows. Let's go with this one. I'm not sure it supports SMP. So more than one vCPU. So let's go with 2. ReactOS, customize, and finish. Certainly BIOS not UEFI, hopefully the newest motherboard, which is Q35. Again, I do not know if it supports more than one CPU thread. SATA and the CD-ROM disk. Hopefully supports the Intel E1000, and I'm not sure if it supports tablet. Let's begin. So it has allocated 100 gigabyte UCOW virtual machine hard disk, SATA. It has booted and started the installer. This doesn't work. Booting from the ISO, the nightly ReactOS ISO, just goes to a black screen, and that's it. So I'm trying the release candidate from 2024 0.4.15. I searched on Google ReactOS 0.4.15. I'm taking to this SourceForge download page. I have downloaded from here the file that everybody has downloaded, which is the newest one, 0.4.15.5, not 0.4.15.2, x86 ISO. It's a zip, needs to be extracted. This is the file. So this file, 147 megabytes. Let's recreate the virtual machine from scratch. File, new virtual machine, ISO, browse, 0.4.15, choose, Windows 7. Let's go with just one CPU this time. We're going to keep the exact same settings. Hopefully this release candidate was better manually tested. I got to the exact same place. That didn't work. I created another virtual machine with a really old hardware. I selected the oldest possible version of NetBSD operating system as a template, so that gave me the i440 motherboard and IDE CD-ROM and hard disk. That didn't help. So let's try with VirtualBox, Oracle VM VirtualBox application. Maybe we have better luck this time. I'm starting again with the nightly build 0416 dev. Microsoft Windows 2003 32-bit. One CPU, half a gigabyte of RAM, 20 gigabytes hard disk. So VirtualBox seems to have a template for ReactOS. I have used the settings that are suggested by VirtualBox. Network interface, Intel 1000. And yeah, we're way further in the installer. Let's see if we can zoom this thing. We're going to select the language, English, United States, enter to continue. Enter to continue. Enter to continue. ACPI uniprocessor, VESA display. Can we choose something larger? Let's try this one. Accept these device settings. Enter to continue. Unpartitioned space, 20 gigabytes. Enter to install. Format FAT quick. Enter to continue. Install bootloader, MBR and VBR. ReactOS for the Windows install directory. Let's keep the default. Your computer will reboot. I do not want to boot from the CD-ROM. The default option is ReactOS and in debug mode. Windows, I don't know, 2003 style. Bootloader. View 100%. Next. Other open source licenses and GPL. ReactOS server versus workstation. Next. United States. ReactOS. Administrator password. Next. Eastern. Wow, there's theming available. Let's go with Lautus. Let's go with the default because we want as few issues as possible. Next. Networking. This computer is not part of an Active Directory domain. We need a HTML rendering control. Restart. I need to remove the ISO. New hardware wizard. System device. Installation failed. And this is it, the newest version of ReactOS, the nightly version. Version name is 0.4.16 or 32-bit, so x86. Built with the GNU compiler collection, not with the Microsoft Visual C++ compiler. Let's see how everything looks like. Right-click on the Start menu. You can open the Windows File Explorer. This is WinVer dialog. Let's enter full screen mode. So the resolution was 3:4, the one of the options that were available in the installer, which is a bit too tall for my 1080p resolution and not wide enough for my 16:9 aspect ratio. Okay, so the ReactOS File Explorer, which is similar to Windows File Explorer, looks as you would expect. There's a command prompt. Ver, WinVer, there's a web browser, which is Wine Internet Explorer, iexplore.exe. Many of the graphical user interface applications come from the Wine open source project, which produces a layer on top of, for instance, the Linux operating system that allows you to run Windows 32-bit software, such as various Windows games, Total Commander, Notepad++, etc. This Wine Explorer iExplore.exe is using the graphical user interface HTML rendering control from the Mozilla Firefox project, so the Gecko rendering engine, the one that we have just installed when we first logged into ReactOS in the first run installer wizard. Okay, so the basics are here. We have the start menu, a task bar, tray, right-click menu on the desktop, color schemes, Windows XP style themes, and again I will stick to the default theme, which is probably better tested and has fewer issues. What other screen resolutions do we have? Only 3:4 aspect ratio from what I see. Cancel. The most important application that comes pre-installed is the App Store ReactOS Application Manager. Some of the software that's available here is the software that's most often manually tested on various versions of ReactOS. There is a manual testing effort for the ReactOS operating system at various releases, release candidates, nightly builds, etc. The operating system is being installed from the boot ISO, is being tested in live CD mode from the live CD ISO, and some of these software applications are being tested, and the new issues are being put as issues into the issue tracker, which is Jira. The applications that you would expect, applications that worked fairly well on Windows XP, various versions of Firefox, because as you saw, Wine Internet Explorer is just a stopgap measure. It's a web browser that's available by default, but doesn't render very correctly, doesn't have tabs, etc. So you would immediately install one of the Firefox versions that is still new enough such that it supports HTTPS and HTTPS protocols and works okay with many new modern websites, but old enough such that it can be installed on old versions of Windows and works with as few issues as possible in ReactOS, and doesn't really require 3D GPU acceleration, video decoding, hardware acceleration, and other nice modern features, hardware features. Notepad++, viewers for PDF, AB Word for a text editor, so an alternative to Microsoft Office Word, the zip extractor, 7-zip, emulators, image viewers, another text editor Cheetah, CMonkey, the suite containing a web browser, a mail client, a HTML composer, VLC media player, other web browsers, the Microsoft Office 2003 viewers, Total Commander, versions of Java and .NET Framework, so what you would always do after you install ReactOS is to actually start the ReactOS application manager, and from here install a version of Mozilla Firefox. At that moment you have a operating system that works and you have a web browser. Let's see how we do that. Internet and network. Mozilla Firefox. Which one? Let's try this one. So the newest version available and ESR. How do we install it? Right click and install. So the operating system ReactOS is in alpha status, has its stability, but the moment when you install additional software, then that additional software might not behave as well. So you might have a larger number of bugs, issues, crashes, etc. as you keep installing software, and the installed software might not work as great as the default pre-installed applications that come with the ReactOS operating system. Don't import anything. These fonts don't look that great. The single quote between N and T is interesting. No longer supported on Windows 8.1 and below. Let's see what version of Windows is being advertised to the applications that are installed in the operating system ReactOS. Where do we get that setting? Control panel. So I have run var, the command line application. It said that the version of the operating system is 5.2.3790, and we know it's an operating system of type server, not of type workstation, because that's what we have selected when we installed. It said that if we report the operating system as a server, then that's the default, so the most supported option. But you can switch back to report as a workstation from the window, from the ReactOS start menu, settings, control panel, system, advanced, and system settings. And then you switch to report as workstation. I have searched on the internet for Windows Server and then this version 5.2.3790. And it says that it's Windows Server 2003 SP2. So this is probably the newest possible version of Windows Server 2003 or 32-bit. So this is it. The operating system ReactOS nightly has been installed correctly, but only in VirtualBox, did not work in Virt Manager QEMU. Then we have installed the newest version of the web browser Mozilla Firefox, a version that's no longer supported by Mozilla Firefox, but a version that works correctly in ReactOS, because ReactOS by default says that it is Windows Server 2003 SP2 32-bit. And many Windows software applications don't support Windows Server 2003 anymore. In the ReactOS Start menu, you have familiar applications. I'm not sure if these work correctly. For instance, there's an RDP client. The applications that you would expect. The Windows calculator, calc.exe. One, two, three, two, one. Square root. Okay, the calculator seems to work. Character map, registry editor, task manager. Applications, processes, performance. Let's see if we can start services.msc from the run dialog. Service manager, this guy. What if I start it from here? There's no such file services.msc. So the graphical user interface application for managing Windows services does exist, but maybe it's not named MSC, or maybe the mmc.exe is not associated to open MSC files by default. Minesweeper, Solitaire, Event Viewer, Device Manager. So the minimal graphical user interface applications that come with most Windows operating systems, most Windows NT operating systems are here. The graphical user interface for editing devices, registry, Windows services, processes, the control panel, network settings, display settings, iExplore.exe for a web browser, Explorer.exe for a file manager. The thing that I would need most from this operating system is stability in the default built-in applications. So I do not want the operating system to get into a blue screen of death or other hangs or crashes because of the built-in applications. If I just run the operating system with the very default settings in a VirtualBox virtual machine. And then on top of this, I would want the nice to have features, which is to be able to resize the screen to whatever resolution I want. And probably a RDP server, remote desktop protocol server, or a VNC server that runs correctly. And then for the additional applications, Windows applications that can be installed on ReactOS, I would want a list of 10 applications that have been tested, work okay with few issues on ReactOS, and the list of known issues for those applications. So yeah, I would want one web browser that's as modern as possible, one text editor, and that's about it. If command line tools such as debuggers, a Git client, etc. work correctly, a web server, then the ReactOS operating system, in my opinion, is ready to be released as a stable software, not alpha, not beta, not anything. So if I were the ReactOS operating system, I would do a release, stable release of the operating system, but with a one page of instructions. This is the version that we support. This is how it should be installed. We only support in a release mode to be installed on VirtualBox. These versions of VirtualBox, we only support installing these 10 Windows applications. This is the way you connect remotely to it, etc., etc. So a page of text. And if you confine yourself as a user to that page of release notes, then the ReactOS operating system should be stable for you. And from there on, the ReactOS operating system could do more stable releases, again with a really large release notes text. Like we don't support 64-bit in release mode, that's still alpha. We don't support 2 CPU threads, that's still alpha. In release mode, we support just one CPU thread. We only support Windows Server 2003 SP2 in release mode. In alpha, we have also support for advertising the ReactOS operating system as Windows 7, for instance. So a subset of the ReactOS operating system, a subset of Windows applications, plus very strict release notes could be releasable in my opinion. This is it. Thank you.